thank you everyone for joining us. And I'm just going to sort of kick it off a little bit more casually than normal because we've got Mr. Short Game and we've got Brian here. Both these guys know each other. They went to the same college. And, earlier I introduced Brian Finnerty and Brian Mogg. And I thought to myself about something that Brian Mogg said. Brian said that he likes to make friends, with his clients. And I sort of thought to myself, golly, in V1, we call it the V1 family. And I like to say that we have a whole lot of friends and we make clients and customers along the way. So thank you for hanging in there while we digressed and talked surfing about and just chit chatted. We appreciate you joining us, and we're starting a few minutes late. So I'm going to actually formally kick off with our friend who is now also our client and customer. And I will start now by saying Happy New Year, golf friends, and welcome to our inaugural V1 Sports Virtual Summit. We have an exciting 2 days ahead of us with an incredible lineup of guest speakers, including some of the world's best golf instructors. To see the full schedule and to check out other seminars the rest of this afternoon and tomorrow, please check out the link in the chat that the girls will post momentarily. We are offering PGA, MSR, and LPGA CU credits to all coaches attending. If you forgot to register with your PGA or LPGA number, please email your member number to marketing@v1sports.com and the girls will submit them for you. We are absolutely recording these webinars. They will be posted via links on the same page on our website that you registered and on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel from the link that you'll see in the chat window. To all the folks that are joining us, we love to keep this casual. We love to answer questions. We want to go back and forth. So please post as many questions as you like in the chat. I will do my best to interrupt Mr. Short Game and Mr. Finnerty and give them all the questions so that we can get to them throughout our presentation today. I am Mandy Von C. I am the Southeast Regional Sales Manager for V1 Sports based in Charleston, South Carolina. I absolutely adore my job and my team and all the wonderful people that I get to take care of. V1 Sports is a 25-year-old company. We are the leader in delivering video analysis and instruction solutions to golfers and golf instructors around the world. In addition to our software solutions, we provide hardware solutions, including high-speed cameras and computers and that gorgeous V1 pressure mat that you see that Matt is standing near. The V1 pressure mat is the world's most powerful and portable solution to measure pressure, velocity, and dynamic force throughout the golf swing. Our pressure mat integrates seamlessly with V1 Pro Desktop and V1 Pro Mobile applications to provide immediate data and video feedback in your home golf studio, in your golf academy, or on the range. Joining me today, I'm so happy to have him join this chat, is our CEO, Brian Finnerty. He is our fearless leader and our entire team totally adores him. Finnerty is an investor and entrepreneur at Opportunity Seed Capital, specializing in venture capital investments in sports and technology. He graduated from San Diego State, just like Mr. Fisher. And Brian was actually a professional soccer player. He was drafted by the Detroit Rockers, named Rookie of the Year, won an NPSL championship, named Series MVP, and earned a starting lineup of all 4 All-Star teams. So amazing. Thank you, Brian, for joining me this afternoon. We're going to have fun with Mr. Short Game. Okay, our guest is YouTube sensation Matt Fisher, aka Mr. Short Game. He has more than 170,000 YouTube subscribers. Mr. Short Game has successfully found a way to connect with golfers in a fun and creative way via YouTube. We're going to hear about that in a minute. If you don't already follow Mr. Short Game on YouTube, go ahead and do that through the link in the chat window. He's going to talk to us a lot about how he connects with golfers through a different platform. And I definitely think that you will be pleased to follow him on Instagram. The girls will post that in the chat. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. So happy to talk about Matt's golf studio.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So Matt, we're looking at your screen. This is your home studio. I just kind of want to place where we're at. This is your basement, right?
This is my basement. I'm in North Georgia. Yeah, so in the basement.
And what was that room before you decided to turn it into a golf studio?
When we bought the house, it looked like a media room, like a movie studio, or you'd have a screen and watch movies.
Okay. And no athletics though, just movies.
I would imagine, yeah.
Okay. Why'd you decide to turn it into a golf studio?
Well, so moving out east from California, it was obvious I would need a space indoor to do videos in the wintertime. And I'm glad I did it. It's in the 30s today. For me, I can't handle it. I'm a wimp. So, but it gets in the 20s sometimes. So right now it's cold. It rains a lot more out here than out on the West Coast. So yeah, that was the reasoning behind it.
Nice.
Hey, Matt, Mandy and I are gonna jump back and forth here. So my apologies if you feel like you're on the Budweiser hot seat. But we've found over the last couple of sessions that we have a really nice mix between golf pros. I'll say we call them prosumers, right? That they're not quite golf pros, but they're more than just an average golfer. They kind of dabble in between a DIY and doing some work at home. Maybe they work with one of their kids or somebody else sort of independently. And then we've got crazy golfers like myself that just want to know more about either what I can do at home, which is what we're here to talk about, or how do I make my game better? So we got a pretty wide variety on the audience side. So we're going to bounce a little bit back and forth between maybe what if I'm a pro and I'm thinking about doing what you did, right? Which is creating more of an indoor space. I see this value of creating content and capturing it. What does that look like? And then also, again, guys like myself or Mandy or any of us other golf nuts who are just saying, I'd like a little more dedicated space to work on my game. So just giving you some foundation for kind of what the audience is and what we're working.
Yeah.
So with that being said, yeah, talk us through, you made this move, you went to Atlanta and or North Atlanta. And obviously you really started to get some traction in, I'll say, being the guy next door, right? You certainly don't come across as a know-it-all golf pro. And yet you've got these great tips and drills that obviously almost 200,000 people have found really energizing for their game. So walk us through that journey between leaving SoCal and going out to Atlanta and kind of what you were looking for when you built the indoor studio. What did it have to have and why?
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. So, I mean, I love creating content. I certainly don't know everything in the golf swing. I think that journey was me trying to get good, and a lot of conventional training just wouldn't click. It wouldn't work for whatever reason. So I started kind of saying, okay, I knew I'd played a lot of other sports growing up. So I took a lot of those kind of skills and just created drills, that were golf drills that applied to kind of these other concepts of, whatever you did playing football or baseball or basketball or whatever it was. And it worked. And then when I had kids, I would train them and they would do those things and it worked. They got really good, really fast. So then when it kind of the YouTube thing started happening, I just said, hey, I'm going to do that and try. And it's a different animal. If you're standing at a range teaching somebody, there's, you can't have that level of energy for, I don't know, maybe some people can, but for 8 hours a day, that's hard to do. And so I said, okay, look, I think people learn well in that environment. So let me try to do the video side of it and have a level of energy. So hopefully people don't lose focus or lose their attention, and it's memorable enough that it sticks. If you bang your leg on a table, you're probably not going to remember that in 2 days. But if you cracked your head on a windowsill or and you're going to remember that a lot longer. So that's kind of the thought process in terms of, hey, I want to smack you, I want to hit you hard in the video so you remember it. And then coming out here, moving cross country for numerous reasons, but I wanted a space, indoor studio, where I can really, get out of the weather and kind of get really detailed, focused stuff with launch monitors and cameras, so that we can take a lot of the stuff and do it nonstop. So
in looking at your space, from what we can see from our camera view, it looks really clean. I'd say organized, maybe like a new garage. So I don't want to assume too much here, because when we move into a new house, our garages always look awesome. and a year later you go, man, how did all that clutter get in there? But is your design to keep it pretty clean and open so you can not only move around in the space, but really utilize it well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want a bunch of stuff. I had some clubs here. I took them out. I just wanted it as clean as possible. I think it looks better on camera. And I have a desk in here. I do my work in here. So this is kind of my office too, but I like everything kind of neat and clean, especially when the camera's rolling. I think it looks a little better. It's not so distracting.
I love that. And I think that's so important to make a point. All the people looking at your room, specifically in this video, there is nothing behind you. I see so many golf academies and there's walls of golf clubs in the background, and that conflicts with the video analysis. So if you create a studio and you have an opportunity to create white or clean walls behind the video, it sure makes for a more powerful video analysis without having too many conflicting things. Also, V1 is, Brian calls us all the time Switzerland. We love to talk about how we make studios work with all the technologies and how we make everything talk to each other. I even want to point out things like our value added consulting is even paint colors and paint colors to choose for the best video quality. So there's a lot of things that we add to building rooms like yours, but the very first thing that you have to start with is how big is that room? We've got a lot of people asking. I know height is super important. Obviously, when you're swinging a golf club, I know what I would prefer the minimum dimensions to be, but can you talk about the dimensions of that room, specifically the height with the driver?
Yeah, so straight up, it goes about 10 feet. And then there's a cutout. I don't know if you could see it, but this drops down to about 9.6.
Okay.
So, you can swing a driver on there, but some people would hit it. So I've had a buddy of mine who's 6'5" swing driver in here in the center. He's fine. So
I would say the minimum height for a studio is 10 feet.
To be comfortable, 10. I mean, you could do 9, and that you'll be fine. But a lot of people are uncomfortable swinging driver at 9 feet. You can do it. It's like you think you're going to hit, you won't, but every now and then you might, depending on what you're doing.
So I know what our minimum dimensions are that we would ask for camera to golfer. Can you talk about the dimensions of your room, the width of that, and depth of that room?
So the full width this direction is 20 feet.
Okay.
And then I have 18 going this way. And I have, it's a weird shape where my screen is because there's a door and it kind of kicks in, but so I can't have the screen as close to that wall as I want. It's probably 3 or 4 feet out or from the wall and then another foot from the door.
Okay.
So from what I understood, you want about 12 inches from a wall for the screen. I don't think you need that much, but we did that to be safe. And then I'm about 9 feet from the ball to TrackMan, and then another, let's say 9 feet from ball to screen. You want to be 12, but I'm about 9 or 10.
So I'd ask for, when I'm building an academy or talking about dimensions, I would ideally ask for 7 feet from camera to golfer. If you don't have that, that's totally fine. We have wide angle lenses, so we can accommodate much smaller dimensions if your room only allows for less than 7 feet. 7 feet or 15 feet, of course, if you have right and left-handed golfers, but we can adjust that based on if it's a home studio. If there's only right-handed golfers, then that's a little bit easier. And the depth of the room depends on what kind of screen or hitting net you're hitting into. So of course we want at least 15 feet, but then like Matt says, he needs some space behind his screen. Talking about the technology in your room, just because Matt, your room looks so clean and amazing. There's a lot of really great technology in that room.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the most important to you?
So, I mean, the first thing I want in a room is, not counting, you need some type of screen to hit in, and assuming you have that, I wouldn't hit without a camera for sure. I want to video my swing on some way, shape, or form. Before launch monitor and everything, I want to see what I'm doing. So I mean, I used my phone for a long time, and then now I have the high-speed V1 video camera. I have 2 of them, and those things are fantastic. I use them every day.
Brian, Matt, can you talk about the difference between those high-speed cameras and maybe a webcam or something that you would film in your existing computer?
Yeah, so these high-speed cameras are full resolution, like HD high depth resolution, and they capture at 240 frames per second. So that means you get to see every piece of the swing, whereas a webcam, a lot of webcams capture 15 frames a second. So you're going to see one shot here, and then your next one's here, and they're all blurry. So even your phone, the phone's okay outside. Some of the good phones can do it, but but indoor, the phone's not going to give you a clear picture.
I agree. I think that the iPhone and the iPhone and the iPad have 240 frames per second cameras. That makes for a great video if you're in a bright, sunny spot.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you're filming high-speed video for golf or baseball, you need very specific cameras, also very specific lighting. We actually learned something about the lighting in Matt's room yesterday when we were doing some tests, and we'll actually show you that when we film some screens. And when I bring up lighting, Gary Palace has taught me a lot lately about not only overhead lighting, but lighting for things like the sun setting. This bright light behind me would mess up or potentially have an effect on my videos. So V1, we feel very confident in consulting on lighting. Matt's room is spectacular. And actually, in full disclosure, Matt is using a spotlight that he uses for YouTube videos, which is making it's right there, he'll point to it. It's making him look great on camera. But then when we see his videos here in a minute, he's going to take some swings. We'll see how that bright spotlight might affect the high-speed cameras. So just a lot of factors that can go into a room. And we like to help you make sure that when we leave, that video is the best that it can be. And speaking of that, Matt, can you show the good people sort of how you would do some practice in your own studio?
Sure. You want me to go on to the
I do. I want you to screen share your studio. So Matt's using the same computer that he has V1 Pro Studio. So he's going to screen share his studio software, and he'll kind of show you. Yeah. So look, he's got some overhead lights that are inset into those squares. He's got those turned off.
You want those on?
No, they look great. They look great right now. You can see that big bright light on the left. That's for his YouTube film. So anyway, just a lot of discussions about how to maximize the high-speed video based on light for Matt. So Matt, let's film something and show the people how easy this is to use in your home studio.
Okay. So I'm just recording. So I just set it to record, 15 seconds. And then I could just come over here and go through frame by frame. Which is great. That's what I love. I mean, I love seeing every piece of the puzzle and just scrolling through. And then we talked about the lighting at the top, on the ceiling where I have lights where it would flicker if we had it on. But this looks pretty good.
It does. It looks great. Nice swing, Matt.
Well, thanks.
For stepping in there and taking a whack at it. That's a good job.
So this is really great. We appreciate you showing the software. I like the, the 2 videos he's got side by side. Matt can also compare himself to tour models. There are also some drills in the library that you can work on.
Yeah.
And as a little bit of housekeeping, if you guys have questions, keep them coming. So we'll try to pepper some in as they roll. And then we're going to save about 10, 15 minutes at the end of this to kind of compile some questions. So if we don't get to it right away, we'll get to it right at the end. Sorry, Matt.
Had my daughter in here earlier. She was having a good time.
Whoa, look at that swing.
She can send it here and there.
That's
So,
awesome.
I mean, it's great. They get to, she loves it because she'll look in here and then she'll like, oh, look. And she's like, look, I jump right there. And she's looking at her feet. So for kid, I mean, she just really started getting into hitting. And then she wants to keep hitting and hitting and hitting just because she can see something. And she's like, why do I do that? Why do I do that?
That's so good. It creates a conversation, right? For you as coach to have to look at that and super slow-mo and talk to her about that. I bet she's got a really interesting trace as well.
Yeah.
I asked Matt yesterday about who uses that room. And he said me. And I said, well, what about your kids? And he has 3 teenage kids. So I asked him if they work together. And so thank you for filming your daughter.
You got it.
Appreciate that. We had a question about lighting. I saw it. And dimensions, lighting. We have specific lighting and specific bulbs. I always have Gary Pallas jump on an actual Zoom. I want to see the room. He's going to be looking for windows and sunsets. So if you have any questions about your room specifically, please reach out to sales@v1sports.com. We're happy to have a look and make suggestions. Okay. We asked you what the most important game improvement technology that you added to your home studio. I know that you said cameras. Let's talk a little bit about that screen and some launch monitor integrations. Can you tell us about your screen specifically?
So I got this, let's see, you could see this here a little bit at a company called Par to Pro or Pars to Pro, Par to Pro. And so it has on behind it is just your a sports screen, like you can kick soccer ball. That's how they make it. And then they sell you a high impact screen, which is the white one. So that's super thick. And my screen's 13 feet long. And then I bought the remote control, retractable, motorized unit to roll it up. So it goes up and down.
We love that. I think it looks really nice. This is the alternative to just a net, right? I'm sure you can project all sorts of cool stuff on that screen.
Yeah, so that's why we did that. So, because we have a projector, so you want the white looks best on the when the projector's on. Right.
And tell everyone about the launch monitor that you're using, your partner.
Say that again?
Your launch monitor partner. Who is it?
Oh, SkyTrack?
Yes.
So SkyTrack's fantastic. That's the one I used before TrackMan. Obviously, TrackMan's it's a different price point, but for the home studio, SkyTrack, in my opinion, is probably the best one to go with. Okay, so I often say things on webinars that get me in trouble. I'm going to really get in trouble now because the boss, he's in my window, like right there. But that's okay because all these people are here and he won't fuss at me too bad live, I don't think. But a little secret, V1 is working on some integrations with some launch monitor partners. We have nailed it with Foresight, and there may be some others that come right past this one, like in a few weeks, hopefully, that would be really exciting to you. SkyTrack, maybe. I'm just kind of saying that.
they rhyme with.
We put that out there, but there is some integrations that I know Mikey, who is our development director of development, is very, very close on. So Ryan, I'm not really saying anything, but sort of saying things. So we have integrated with Foresight. There are others on the way. Matt, that will be advantageous to you. I love that. And SkyTrack, it's really good because it would sit here. The benefit of like a SkyTrack is it sits right in front of your ball. So it doesn't need to see the ball for very long. It just passes by it. Right. And so it's doing a lot of math with club face and capturing ball speed initially. And, but it's super accurate. I tested it indoor, outdoor versus TrackMan. And it's like 98%. I mean, for what stats it has, it's like 98% accurate. I love it. So what that means is in one video, You would have the multiple angles of your video, so face on and down the line. You'd also have the pressure mat ground force data in that video. You'd also have ball flight. So after the ball leaves the club, the launch monitor data flashes. So you have one video with so much feedback that it's amazing. And it's really cool that we're able to integrate all of those and have it in one platform. We're really proud of that. Solves a lot of problems for pricing for multiple computers and real estate. Keeps you from having lots of computers on that desk over there in the corner of your room. Matt, can you talk about the V1 home software?
Sure. So that's what we saw when I was looking at my swing.
Sorry, hang on just a second. Brian has a question.
Yeah, just before we transition into that, because I see a couple of questions in the chat room, whether we're integrated with any of the different launch monitors. To Mandy's point, a company that rhymes with RYRAC is going to be very close, if not a couple of weeks behind from today. So we're pretty excited about that. And I know that's going to play well into Matt's hands. But there are a number of integrations across the different platforms that over the next probably 2 to 3 months we'll be releasing. That includes the Mevo. It includes, as Mandy already mentioned, we've got Foresight, Flight Scope is on the way. So plenty, and others that are in the mix. So please look for them as we head into 2021, more and more integrations that do bring all of that into one bundled package, which makes it really nice. So plenty to come.
And then also, thank you, Brian, for saying that. And thank you for not fussing me for releasing that information. You said it too, so we're both in trouble. But the pressure mat, I saw a question about the height of the V1 mat. The pressure mat is tiny. It's 9.6 pounds. It's 2 feet by 3 feet. It is basically a heavy duty doormat that is literally doormat material like you'd find at Lowe's that is stapled to the technology. It is meant to be laid right on top of any of your hitting surfaces that can also go outside in the bunker and the sand trap. It can be thrown on a damp grass. It is waterproof. I would tell you not to throw it in the ocean, but you can stand on it with wet feet. In Matt's studio, it is hardwired. You see that one cable coming from the top left corner of his mat over to his computer. So in his studio, it's hardwired. But if Matt wants to take this outside, all he does is unplug it, roll it up. It comes in a carrying case, and it hooks wirelessly to his mobile device or iPhone or iPad. It is the slickest technology. I love it. I will talk about it all day long. But the mat, and the answer to the question, the height of the mat, I'd probably, I don't know, half an inch maybe, if that, probably if that.
Not even that.
Not even
it's
that.
Pretty thin.
And it's not mounted on the carpet. It is just laid down. If Matt can, he can pick it up. He's got it probably centered where he likes to stand. But it is, like I said, 9.6 pounds, comes in a carrying case. It is not stuck to the floor. It is just laid on the floor. It doesn't move. It doesn't slip. It is very sturdy.
Yeah, I can tell you, Mandy, and Matt will probably test this. I also have a golf studio at my house, and I'm going to digress to an earlier question from this one. But the weight of the mat and the back of the mat itself does have a little grip to it. So when you lay it on, especially what Matt and I are doing onto an AstroTurf or a turf product, it almost has a bit of a Velcro feel, if you want, not like literally pulling it apart. But, you know, Matt could swing as hard as he possibly could, put a ton of rotational force, and you'll see that thing doesn't budge an inch. I'm 215 pounds. I've got my twin boys are about 195, and they make some pretty hellacious passes at the ball. It does not move at all. So whether you've got it on turf at home, I know Jake Thurm uses it about in every environment, including bunkers, uphill, side hill lies. It just doesn't move. So thankfully, the weight of the product and the backing that it's on really keeps it stable. And one extra thing I'll add in, because I know Matt's kind of standing in the middle of it. Matt, in your house, you've got that 11-foot ceiling. You've got, I see the kind of the drops around the corners. Somebody had asked, how in the world did you get an 11-foot ceiling in a basement? Did you have to do something custom, or what were the top of the joists kind of allowing you to kind of get that height there?
Yeah, I mean, that's good. It was built out when we bought the house. So that's something, as we were looking at homes in the area, I was certainly looking at homes with a finished basement that would accommodate it. So there was a number I saw that they were just a little low. So this one was perfect. And there's a lot that are. I don't know. I've never lived in a house with a basement before. So moving out here was a new thing, but some were even higher. It was weird. I've never seen
Yeah,
it. Some were 15 feet. So it just depended. It depends on really how they do it, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm in Michigan, so we might not currently, but my house is in Michigan, and my home was built in 1948. So until we did an addition, and some of the people were asking questions. What if you don't have 10 feet? I had 8 feet 11 and a quarter inches, and so what I decided to do was really just make a practice area for my short game, right? So I was able to hit wedges, do a lot of putting. And until I was able to either do some stuff in the garage with the net that had a little more space, and then ultimately build out in my second edition, I went with 11 feet for my height as well. There is a step you can take, even if you're stuck with low ceilings. You don't always have to, do without. You can make something work for short game, given that you've got wedges and putting and chipping and all the things. So there are plenty of options, certainly.
Yeah, I know SkyTrack has like a short game, like games or a mode in there for short game. So, you could be anywhere and do that little guy. And if that's all you did, you're all winter or whatever, or just for your practice, like this guy I played with, the best guy I've ever played with, he would shoot, he shot a 65 in a match we were playing against and just killed me. And I asked him what he did for practice. I said, you must live at the range. He's like, no, I just take a bucket of balls and I chip with it. 8 irons, 7 irons, wet. Like all he did was chip. So you don't have to bang drivers all day.
Well, for those of you that have been in multiple sessions with us, we opened up the day today with Brian Mogg. And if there was one recurring theme you heard from him about building a foundation, it wasn't hitting 5,000 drivers a day. It was having a wedge, a 9 iron, an 8 iron, to Matt's point, in your hand and chipping over bushes, chipping balls into baskets. How do you make it fun? You do those kind of things, whether you're 13 or you're 53. And obviously you got the name Mr. Short Game because those are the things you're doing. We all know that around the green, you can certainly make up some distance on the guys just pounding it. And Brian even went as far as saying that take the 4 par 3s that you're going to go play today. And if you were able to shoot 4 pars, you've picked up as an amateur at least 2 strokes on your playing competitors in 4 holes. So, again, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, when I started, I didn't have any money. I had to do whatever was free, and it was chipping and putting. And chipping was more fun than putting, so I did that most of the time. But I just get a bag of balls and go to the course, Singing Hills or a Saquon these days out in San Diego, and that I would just be there all day. It was just, they had the best little short game area back then, and it was just chip and chip and chip and chip.
Yeah. So before Mandy, I turn it back over to you to kind of keep things going here in the last 10 minutes or so before Q&A. I really want to reiterate to everybody that a home studio and Matt's is gorgeous. It's clean. It's all the things. If you are going to be a professional instructor or certainly a content creator, Matt has built what we would say is absolutely ideal, both from color, aesthetic, feel, all the way to the roll-up net so we can use more space in there, all those things. But if you are limited and can only do 1 camera, let's say, or you want to use your iPhone with the V1 golf app, there are plenty of opportunities, even if you've just got spot in a basement or a backyard or out in your garage with a hitting net. All those things are possible. So, don't be dissuaded because it may not look as nice as what Matt has, but that's certainly a great view of what it could be. But please know that there are plenty of options. And Matt just mentioned those little short shots and half swings certainly pay big dividends when it comes to getting better at the game of golf.
Yeah. And I would video the chipping too. A lot of people don't do that. Just these little guys. If you're perfect in this range, then your full swing is going to get there anyways. So if you just worked on that in the video, indoors, whatever, you're going to be fine.
Matt, I would like to ask you a little bit about what you're using that room for. I found it, we're talking about your home golf studio, but you're also a golf instructor. So yesterday when we were talking, I asked you about your teaching. And so I'd like for you to share how you're teaching golf, because you don't teach golf in a traditional way.
No. So obviously the videos do that on YouTube. And then when people send me their swing through V1 app or whatever, what I can do is analyze their swing. And then in the studio, I can show them, okay, here's what you're doing. And then I can customize a little video just specifically for them, easy to shoot in here, and then send it off. And it's not in person, but it's like the next best thing. And in this day and age, that's a good way to go. And then it's also a great way to get specific with people in a way where they can just keep watching it over and over and over again.
Right. But I also found it fascinating, and specifically talking about your YouTube channel. So you use this studio and it is set up for you to film content. And content meaning golf content that you're posting a lot during the week, 3 times a week, I think. So
3 days a week, yeah.
I think that your engagement, I want to talk a little about that in the times of COVID and connecting with people. You're using YouTube to do that, and in this beautiful studio. So can you tell, where do you come up with content, and how, you're doing that 3 times a week. Talk to that. That's a lot.
Yeah. So, I have over 600 videos right now on my channel. So three a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the typical upload schedule. And then it's great with the studio because it's all controlled. I don't have to worry about weather. And so there's, your big bucket kind of categories like, okay, slice, stop hitting the ball fat, how to make better contact, and then specific drills on how to do these things. So, the content's, it's never ending. And so you can just keep doing different drills that help people. Also tons and tons of product reviews, because a lot of golfers love to know what's out there and if it's any good. And I try to give my honest opinion about things like, hey, this is something that's good. Stay away from this. Not that, and I try not to badmouth products, but I just do give my honest opinion is, hey, this is probably a little too expensive, or this isn't worth it. But this might be something for you. So there's that's the content. It's products, it's tips, it's drills, it's on course stuff. So, and the channel's constantly growing. So we're at 170,000. So even though I might do a very similar video as I did last year, I have 100,000 more subscribers today than I did a year ago. You
guys pay attention, golf instructors. This is a huge opportunity. There are 170,000 people watching Matt's YouTube videos. He is filming them from a very gorgeous golf studio. This is just a different way to connect with golfers, but it is obviously working. So thank you for sharing that. And do you teach ever in person? Do you have students that come see you?
So I have, but now that the channel's really, taken off, it's all my time is making video content and getting that out there. And what's funny is, a lot of the, conventional instructors for a while sometimes they're still like anti the YouTube instructor or the entertainer or whatever they want to call us, but in reality, all we're doing is getting people from a place where they're not comfortable taking a lesson to now they feel like they get a lesson every day. And so now they are a lot more comfortable to go to the pro in their area. We're actually driving people to go get lessons from their local pro. So we're a benefit to the conventional instructor in person. I think that is so important for beginner golfers and people even like my age that are just picking up the game, because there are a lot of us, especially during COVID, this is a game we can play, right? This is something we can do. To be able to get on somewhere like YouTube and connect with very approachable, easy to look at and easy to understand people telling us something that's easy to understand, like you and the Tom Segudos of the world. You're right. That makes it very easy for me to feel good about going into my first golf lesson. There's a lot of rules with golf. And so that's a good point. Yes, Brian.
Yeah, and I would say this, we talked about this in the very first session, which was important, right? So I'll say at the other end of the spectrum, we've got Brian Mogg, top 50 teacher, played on tour, been, I think, teaching for 27, 28 years. And even he was espousing the same things that Matt is. The shooting of content and the delivering of the information is the most vital if we're going to expose the most people. The data from our golf foundations tell us that only 15%, 15% of the entire golfing population has taken a lesson. That, of the 30 million, almost 30 million golfers in the United States, that's less than a little over 4.5 million of the 30 have taken a lesson. So that tells you with essentially 25 plus million people out there that are saying, hey, I'm interested in this game. I want to learn more, but I'm a little intimidated, or I'm not sure about going to a pro. I think what Matt is talking about, whether you're a golfer or a professional, this is so relevant right now that it is the content that helps the DIYer decide what is my next step. And I love the fact that Matt said, look, we're driving people towards golf pros. We all know that nothing will take the place of someone standing there with you, whether it's a personal trainer in the gym, whether it's somebody helping you stretch or somebody helping you learn the game of golf. There's nothing like a one-on-one interaction. But in the meantime, there's certainly a way, whether you're working on it at home in a studio like Matt has, or just practicing your chipping, to sending a video online. But ultimately, I think having the access to that content, that's a really key component. So if you're one of the golfers out there, don't feel like you're an oddball because you have not taken a lesson. In fact, you're very much in the majority, and you're probably seeking out guys like Matt, and especially with the high quality content that Matt's putting out there. There's a way to do this, and we're not telling you at V1, you have to go see a pro. What we're telling you is we'd like to show you a path that you may end up there. And we hope that the content that's created by, in this case, Matt for sure, is helpful and delivers a better experience for you.
Yeah, I want people to go get lessons and find the right person. That's a hard part too, is find the one that really connects with you. You might have to take a few, try a few different people, but you'll eventually find the person that kind of speaks your language. And
yep.
I think that really is going to help, a lot of people.
Hey, Matt, a technical question. I know you're hitting a lot of golf balls in that space.
Mm-hmm.
I saw your daughter on the video. She's sitting there. I went through this thinking about my boys, pounding a lot of balls. One of the questions was, what kind of turf do you have in the space that you're in now? And is, the repetition of that hitting, does it cause any issues with your elbows? Did you pick a turf specifically to avoid that? I've got some thoughts on it, but I'd love to hear yours first.
So I have the Divot Action Mat here, and can you see that?
Yep.
It flexes down, so it acts very much like a divot. And then this comes out. You can just pop it out. He doesn't like me to show the bottom of it because it's patented stuff. Anyways, but that piece comes out. I always get a new one. But I mean, it just flexes down. So it's. I haven't had any issues. It's much better than your conventional mat. Yeah, that would hurt my wrist. I have a broken wrist, so I'm very conscious of what I hit off of in terms of a mat, and there's just a broken bone still in my wrist.
So it's a good point. And for anybody who's sorry to blend these sessions, right? They're running together to some sense, but hopefully you're hearing a common theme. As you've seen from Matt's, there's this word intentionality we use a lot at V1, whether that's the design of your studio, what you hope to end up getting out of it. And again, if you're a DIYer like myself and you'd say, man, I just want to build something at my house, being intentional about what's your end goal, right? And if it's to hit 200 balls a week or whatever your number is, I think that's the right question. So to Matt's point, he's got a turf situation or a solution that really does address, it's going to give him feedback, but it's also really good on the elbows. I did the same thing. I happen to have an HD golf system at home along with V1 built in, as you'd imagine. But in my strike zone where my turf is, I've got essentially the same thing through them because I knew we were going to be hitting a lot of golf balls in that room. So I paid for the upgrade and got a more sort of a divot reactive turf that's spongy like Matt's. And I can tell you, we've been using it for 4 years. I still haven't had to replace mine, and zero elbow and shoulder or wrist problems at the same point. So great question. Should you pay attention to that? My answer is, I think you've heard from Matt, absolutely yes. you know, if you're going to bang 25 balls a week, it may not matter, right? You could probably use indoor outdoor carpet at that point. But if you're really going to make this a practice area that's dedicated,
Yeah.
spend some time thinking.
Yeah, and
Hey,
this is
Brian.
all, you know, I don't know if it might not look like it, but it is DIY. Like we basically did this. I bought the turf from Custom Design Golf. The guy came up and helped me put it in, but I mean, it's just cutting it and gluing it down. Basically, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I wanted to say that too. When we're helping build golf studios and someone's asking about turf, and thank you, Stephen. Nice to see you over there. Thank you for asking that question. We always help source the turf and a hitting mat. A hitting mat might change. There's multiple different hitting mats. But I always sort of like to have them installed locally. So that's one little trick is we source them for you or help you source them. And then work with local installers to save some money. Just another value added thing that V1 helps you coordinate if you don't know all the pieces for that. Turf to lighting. One more thing that I'd love to show everyone is I'd love to show that lighting mat. Do you mind cutting those? No. So yesterday when we were doing a test, and forgive me, I'm right in the middle of just installed 2 systems, about to install. So lighting is very top of my mind. So I'm testing with Matt yesterday. And I asked him to turn on the studio, and I immediately said, "Oh my goodness, I see some flickering. Let's deal with that." Yeah, so we're going to show you an example of something that I would not necessarily recommend. The great thing about Matt's is that he has his lights on different switches, so he can cut these lights off. So you'll see the difference between this video and the last one that we saw is he's got the lights overhead. In our high-speed cameras, you can see that those lights are flickering very much in the left video. That's super distracting to me. So that I would try to keep that from happening. If you're building a new golf studio, I would ask you to let us work with the electrician and change the bulbs or even change those fixtures or put them like Matt has on their own switch so that they can be cut off if he's filming high-speed videos, which is very easy. You can obviously see Matt's just flipping those on and off. So
yeah, the LEDs aren't the best for cameras.
Right.
Yep.
And same thing. Like if I turn my projector on and you saw it would look horrible on this camera.
Yeah. So, and the same thing goes for projectors. I know that was a couple of questions up above. What do we recommend? So we would recommend not going with an LED camera or LED lighting that is specific for your space. I think Mandy and Matt bring up a great point. If you can put them on a separate switch so that if you just want to have them on at any point in time, they're certainly very efficient. So we'd suggest that's a great use of the lighting. But from capturing on a video point, they work on a frequency. And because our cameras are so high def and sensitive, they actually catch the little blip in the millisecond when it actually goes off and on. That's why they're efficient, because they actually do go off and on. Our eyes don't catch that. But in the video, because it's so high def, it will catch it. So happens both in projectors, stay away from LED, and stay away from the LED lights specific to capturing video. And I'll also say before, I know we're just getting ready to probably peel into Q&A, number of questions coming in about what turf. There's a few different solutions and rather go through all of them. If you just want to email us at sales@v1sports.com, or we'll do a follow-up kind of mass point, whether you're doing just a hitting mat. To Matt's point, if you do a room, I was in the same situation doing a room, which is a little bit different, but from the hitting surface, we'll get you kind of our suggested ones that both great for standing on, great for kind of working in your space, and then obviously also great for where your hitting zone is.
Thank you, Brian. And I think I misspoke on the bulb. So thank you for correcting me there. Earlier, we had a question about integrations, and you just mentioned something about a projector. Foresight, we integrate with the quad and the Hawk. If you do have a Hawk or you have sourced a Hawk, knowing that's a projector, we are happy to help with how to deal with that lighting. So of course the projector has lighting, but we've come up with a very creative way based on where to hang lights and how to hang them. We don't hang them straight, we hang them at an angle. It's an easy little thing, but it fixes a lot of problems. And our genius, Gary Pallas, came up with that, and it solves the problem very quickly and very easily. And those are not expensive lighting banks. The cameras that we use are USB 3.0 cameras.
You got it.
Let me get a net. Okay. Camera, shutter, sleep. So the question from Matt, do you have the camera shutter speed conflicting with the auto exposure white balance? Matt, when I set up a studio, or at least this is what I've done recently, we set that for the best opportunity in the room. So I tweak both of those things to get the best video that the golf pro likes. There's multiple things that we work with the golf professional on, exactly where he wants the camera. Sometimes it's on the hands, sometimes it's in the middle of the body, whatever. And then the shutter speed versus the exposure. And there are multiple settings on our cameras as well. I like to set those and work with the pros as far as zoom and the the distance and all that kind of stuff. We like to sort of set those and then leave them, not mess with them too much. But
yeah,
when
I
we
don't
do
like to touch it.
installations, we like
Your
to
tech
set that
guy
up.
came on and did all my settings for. I had them all wrong, so he came in there, adjusted everything, made it perfect.
Yeah, and I'll say from a company perspective, just so you know, I think we've got 600 or 700 people on this between our recording here and Facebook. What we're not saying is that this is super proprietary and we'll only do this for you if that. We're happy to give you the information on lighting and all other things as it comes to building out a room, whether or not you use V1. So from our perspective, and I know this is why Matt is so near and dear to our heart and being on our team, is this idea of reaching as many people as we can to help fall in love with the game, right? It's pretty simple for us. What you won't find is if you buy something from us, that's not part of what we do. We hope that when we deliver value, you'll want to come check us out. But in the meantime, whether it's a lighting question, a turf question, how to access Matt, whatever it might be, consider us a resource, because that's really what we are. That's why we don't charge for this entire virtual summit. It's a way for us to get out and say, how can we help you either build a better studio, meet great guys like Matt, come to get more information so you don't do the wrong thing. So please, please, please consider us a resource in doing that.
That's that thing, Brian, right? Where we have a whole lot of friends we take care of, and maybe along the way we'll make a couple customers.
That's
Same
right.
thing.
I like that.
Hey, Matt, I think we've picked through all the questions, and Kelly and the girls are asking for you to do a quick video analysis of your own swing.
Oh boy. All right.
Can you do, I mean, you're Mr. Short Game, and I think Brian and I weaved all of the questions. Oh, look, there's Diane Dimmick. I love you so much, Diane. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
And you're Mr. Short Game. We've got to see a little video analysis of something.
All right, let's record one and we'll go. We'll do a new one. I didn't like the last one I hit, so we'll do this. Good swing. I didn't hit it very good though, but it was all right. Let's see. All right, here we go. All right. So I look at my face on a lot, but I really spend a lot of time down the line here. And I like to just get my swing plane there. And just make sure I'm coming into the ball. See, I get across the line a little bit here. I hate that. So I would try to fix that, because then I get a little flippy inside. And like I said, that wasn't a greatest shot. So, okay, so if I'm analyzing my swing, you see how I come across I call that across the line right here.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll do a second recording. I'm going to try to fix that. And then for me, it's to fix it, I'm thinking about,
start there, Matt.
just feeling that move there, here.
That's his hit detector. It'll go when he swings.
Oh yeah. And then I just got to hit record.
Oh, sorry. I can't
Yeah,
drive
so-
this studio.
So now I'm just, I've got a swing thought, trying to fix that. And that felt good to me. That we'll see. So, and then again, I would come in here, draw my line, get rid of that one, and see if I did what I like to do. So a little better. And I hit that one pretty good. Let's see, should we see what, hold on. Let's see what I'll show you the shot. You'll see the reality. That's pretty good. You can see my carry distance. And so I kind of do both. You know, I look at my swing. Let me switch. I'm not very good at sharing screens. Okay. So, you know, I'm always looking to just set up things. I mean, I could be here all day looking at my swing, seeing if, oh, and then if you want to look at your,
Pressure?
my pressure right there, which I love this. So here, you know, I'm 50-50 on my weight at setup, roughly. And then it traces my motion where my weight is. It's my back foot. And then I transfer to my front foot, hopefully to my front heel-ish. There you go.
And
Dynamic
so
force.
what Matt is being modest about is most tour players have a very straight sort of inside back to outside right, back and forth swing motion. As you can see in his foot path, he is right on it, right? You don't see any wobbliness to the line. It goes straight up and straight back. He was standing on it a few times, which is why you see it, but that trace is up and back, which is indicative of a very good and well-balanced swing, but you get reel and feel, right? That's the idea of the mat, that you may be saying, well, I think I was doing this, but you check the data against it and you say, okay, good. That's actually what we're doing. So, Matt, I know we've got just maybe 2 more minutes left. Thank you for running through that very quickly, by the way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think this, hopefully, again, whether you're a golf pro or whether you're a golfer, you know, I'm going to go back to what Matt said in the beginning. We're talking about why design this room and what he was doing. And he said, the first thing, I'm going to add video. And this isn't a shameless plug for V1. I think there's probably plenty of ways you can capture that if you want. But if it's just about banging balls and doing some entertainment, then that may not be your goal. But if it's about getting better at the game of golf and figuring out how you progress and get really purposeful about building a plan to get better, as you can see what Matt just did there, and he kind of said at the end, I could be here all day. I mean, that's the idea, right? That if we're really tuning and working on our game, if it's just about seeing where the ball goes, Matt's a good enough golfer. And if I told him to swing it one-handed, he could make that golf ball go down the line straight at some point in time with a goofy swing. But if he really put the good repeatable swing on it and video said it was working and his foot traces said it was working, I can tell you, if I said just switch over and someone asked what software, that was TrackMan from what I was looking at, that simulation would tell you the ball's going to go pretty straight. And if he had his weight on the inside right heel and left toe at impact, I'd tell you either, you know, cut the crap out of it, or you probably had a double cross pull hook. So the data doesn't lie. And that's kind of, I think, Matt's point in the beginning, which is if you're going to build something like this, whether it's a little net in your basement or garage to a full-blown studio, be intentional about what you want out of it, right? Whether that's the turf you're using, the camera angles and options you're going to use, and then certainly the output that it's going to give you. So you're seeing the best of the best here. This is pretty awesome. So, you know, Matt, any parting thoughts here as we leave you? And thank you so much for being gracious with your time and helping everybody, not just on YouTube, but here for sure.
Yeah, no, happy to be here. You know, it's funny. I've used, before I even knew you guys, like V1 was the app I used on my phone for years. And so like, it's just, and I would always encourage anybody, you have to have something. You could always just use your phone video. Yeah. And some people do that, but to look at the lines, to draw the lines, to see specific pieces of your swing that you want to work on, and then compare that to a pro, or that's invaluable. In my opinion, that's just something, if you're into golf, if you're into getting better, you're going to want to do that. So I'm a big fan of videoing my swing. There are days I would just, today's video day, and I hit a shot, I look at it, I hit a shot, I look at it. And then there's non-video days too. I don't want people to get too caught up in it. There's days where you shut the camera off and just hit. But if you want to work on something, you need that feedback. Like, okay, I felt this. I mean, sometimes I'm trying to feel this in my golf swing, but you would never do that. But I want, like, okay, when I'm stuck in my swing, I'm like, okay, I got to feel something radical here. And then what was the reality? And so you got to be able to see it and compare it and look at it with all the little, gadgets that the app has.
Awesome. Well, as we wrap up, and then Mandy, I'll throw it to you last. Matt, for everybody who's been tuning in the last hour, just a reminder, how do they find you? And, whether that's via email or on the YouTube channel, maybe just give that to us one more time, and then we'll also post it in the comment section so everybody can get it there.
Yeah, just Mr. Short Game everywhere on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. What else is there? Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn, whatever you got, Mr. Short Game will get you there.
Awesome, man. Mandy?
Thank you, Mr. Short Game. Thank you, Matt Fisher. Thanks, Brian. We love helping consult on golf studios. We love sharing all the information that we've learned over the 26 years we've been doing this. So thank you for the opportunity in advance to work with you and support you. And you guys tune in a few minutes to Mike Bender and Gary Palace. Thank you, Matt. Cheers. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks
Matt.
for
We'll
your
see you in
time.
We'll see you in
Take care.
California. Thanks, buddy.